Level Up Expo is going to be the second biggest tournament in North America for this Lumi rank season, and it's going to be a doozy. A lot of North America, a lot of Japan, and I wanted to go over my predictions for the bracket. The bracket starts tomorrow, and the seeding just came out yesterday, which is kind of crazy that there's only 2 days worth of being ahead of time. But, tournaments are tournaments nowadays, so that happens. So let's go into, I'm going to start at the top 128. I'm not really going to cover the round one pools. If an upset happens there, my bad. So for the first top 128 pool, we are going to be looking at the first seeds pool, which is Akola. Akola is the first seed of this tournament, and he has to play against Opsign, who is a very strong Zero Suit player, so Loki could give Akola some trouble, but I think Akola, if he does have trouble, will just go Aegis and it'll be fine. Then he has to fight Kurama. Steve Mario seems quite bad, so he's probably going to win that. Kurama also has to play Apollo Kage first, which is a little bit rough. I think Mario Snake is pretty even. I always think of it as Mario favored just because I'm a Snake hater, but Kurama's been playing really, really well recently, and I don't know how good AK's been playing. I haven't seen him at a lot of majors. I don't know if he's been going or just doing subpar. No, I like AK a lot, so no shade. But I think Kurama will win that, so we will see a Kurama versus Akola, although I know AK probably wants to play Akola so bad. MK Leo has to fight Chunky Kong, and low-key Chunky Kong gonna win. No, Leo will win probably, but I think Chunky Kong could take a game for sure. Then we have Onin versus Atada. Not Snake. Ness versus Steve is quite rough, and Onin's been playing super well recently, from what I'm aware of, so I think Onin's going to win that. Onin versus MK Leo, so if MK Leo makes it to Akola, or he's going to have the Steve gauntlet regardless, because he has to play Onin Steve, and they have obviously given him trouble in the past, because we all know the SmashCon set, and I'm pretty sure Onin has won a couple of other times, and so we're either going to see a Steve Ditto, which Akola will definitely win because he might be the best player in the world at the Steve matchup. At least he's definitely the best at the Steve mirror. And if Leo wins, Leo's going to have some Steve warm up. But again, Onin and Akola play very different, so I don't know how much that's even going to help for the bottom half. So I think Akola's going to make it through winners probably regardless. I mean, MK Leo can beat Akola. I mean, it was game 5 at Supernova last summer, but Akola's just so strong. He's been playing super well this season as well. I haven't covered him much because people on this channel don't want to watch Steve, so I haven't been covering him, but I think that it's still a good matchup for Akola. On the bottom half, we have Zomba versus Atomic, the Rob Ditto. Loki, I could see Atomic winning that because I feel like Atomic is just a little bit better at the combos, but Zomba is very strong. Also, apparently got sponsored recently, so shout outs to him. Under that, we have Shattuck versus J-Jaw. I would imagine that matchup is pretty rough for Kirby because Sword, but also I could imagine that J-Jaw is going to get some edge guards in that matchup because, Kirby will just down air the up B and just have the lingering hitbox there. So I'm assuming Shattuck will win that. Shattuck Zomba, I don't remember who wins those sets, but that's going to be a hot set regardless. And the winner of that gets rewarded with Sonics. I feel like if Zomba ends up beating Shattuck, Zomba will probably beat Sonics. I did know Zomba beat Syrup and I think Tweak a couple weeks ago, or maybe last week at Scarlet Classic. I don't 100% know those results, but I know Zomba won the tournament. I just don't know who he beat other than Syrup in Grand Finals. But Zomba could beat Sonics. It's definitely possible. I know Rob is one of the harder matchups for Sonic for sure. And Sonics is probably going to make it there. Probably going to beat Mr. E. Probably going to beat either Louis Money or PK Chris, although I could see Louis Money winning that. But it's just, Sonics is so good, and Sonic the character is so broken. So it's hard for me to just be like, yeah, Sonics is going to lose. Like, he loses to Roy and who else? I forget who he lost to at Genesis other than Cola. So I genuinely don't remember the other matchups. So that's going to be the first pool. I'm assuming the first 2 seed. Oh wait, Zomba seeded higher than Sonics? I guess Sonics hasn't been doing as well. So I'm low-key, but I think Sonics and Akola will come out here. For the next pool, we have Spargo versus Hyper Kirby. I think Spargo's going to win, but that's low-key going to be a hot set because Hyper Kirby from Georgia, of course, formerly known as Mugen. I think they changed his tag back for April Fools. So the entirety of April, but Hyper Kirby's low-key kind of nice with it. And by low-key, I mean high-key, but I don't think he's good enough quite there to beat Spargo. But I wouldn't be surprised if he won. But yeah, then we have Base Mage versus Pharaoh. And even though Base Mage is the higher seed here, Yoshi versus Puff is really bad, so I think Pharaoh will win that. And then Pharaoh will probably lose to Spargo because I don't think Yoshi likes Cloud very much. We have Snow versus Elijahman. I could definitely see Elijahman winning that. That's one of Mario's worst matchups, if not his worst matchup, in Shulk versus Mario. So I can probably, honestly, I'm going to give that to Elijahman over Snow. I think that's going to be an upset. Cola versus MFA. MFA is an Olimar main, and I know Cola has the Cloud, he has the Roy, but MFA also has the Falcon, so I think game one we're low-key probably going to see Falcon into Cloud, because I think that's going to be the double blind, but I think Cola will win that probably, but MFA is really, really good. I would not sleep on him at all. And then we have, the winner of that set versus, in my opinion, Elijahman. I could also see Elijahman beating Cola, because you do get some really easy edge guards, Shulk versus Roy, and I don't think Cloud necessarily does better in that matchup. If it's MFA, it might be a little awkward, but I do think also Shulk beats Olimar. I mean, Shulk beat Olimar like forever ago when Olimar was broken, like pre-nerfs. So I think low-key Elijahman is going to make it to Spargo and then lose because Spargo is just going to be better. But then I still could imagine Elijahman winning, because I think Elijahman's beat Spargo online a couple times, and I know Spargo is better offline, even though he's crazy online. But I could see it. I could see Elijahman low-key at least making it to that set, right? He's probably going to lose to Spargo, but I could imagine it. For the bottom half, we have Doramigi versus Deathspade. Doramigi, of course, very strong player. I don't know how the Bayo versus Min matchup is. I don't know Doramigi's records with Tama P, so I'm going to double check. And again, if you ever want to just look up stats, you can always go to smashers.app. It is so good. Yeah, so he's 1-2 with Tama P. When did they play though? So this was winter. So this was like recently Tama P beat him. So definitely a VOD that Deathspade can be watching if it is available, which it probably is. But Doramigi probably has more experience in that matchup. I don't know any min-mins from Kansas City other than our favorite content creator, Ristermice. And that's not sarcasm. I do like Ristermice's content. But Doramigi's probably just going to outskill there. No offense to Deathspade. Like, Deathspade could have the run of his life, but Doramigi is just really good. Below that, we have Big Boss and Beastly. Big Boss has been playing well recently, but again, I want Beastly to get that good win. I haven't covered his rival stuff yet, and he also beat Shattuck recently, so Beastly's been playing really, really well, so I could see him winning that. I mean, Rob versus Diddy Kong is, in my opinion, Rob favor. So I don't know, but I don't know how much Diddy Kong practice Big Boss has. I don't know if any Diddy Kongs in Mexico, especially that region of Mexico. Both of those players, though, could give Doramigi some trouble, because I do know that Rob and Diddy Kong both beat Min. Granted, Doramigi has like destroyed Zomba before, so I think Beastly has a slightly better chance for that, for sure. But I'm still going to give it to Doramigi to make it to the final match of this. If he beats Deathspade's probably going to be the hardest opponent. They're going to be tricky for him. I do think Doramigi will reach there. Then we have Tweak and Lammers 44. I don't know how Me Gunner does versus Diddy Kong. I know that Diddy Kong struggles with a lot of weird zoners, but those are typically because they like take or invalidate Banana, and I don't know how much Me Gunner does that. So I'm going to give it to Tweak, but again, it's one of those, like, if I saw Lammers as the upset, I would not be surprised. Then we have Mudes and Capitancito below that. Oh my god, we have double Me Gunner there. I do think Loki, Mudes is, I would say, the better player, but I think Peach definitely struggles with Me Gunner because of that ability to control in front of the space with all those projectiles. So I'd say that's 50-50. I'm going to give it to Capitancito low-key. And I think Capitancito is better than Lammers. So if Lammers makes Tweak struggle or even beats him, I think Capitancito is going to win the mirror match. So then we're going to have Capitancito versus Doramigi, which I can't imagine is good for Doramigi, but if Tweak does make it as projected, I would say that Tweak is going to win that. But it's very interesting. And then again, Spargo Elijahman, Loki going to be a hot set, but I probably would still give it to Spargo. Shootone versus Apple Reviewer. I'm pretty sure Apple Reviewers played Shootone a couple times, and Shootone has won like 3-1. So I could see him winning, but I'm going to give it to Shootone because Shootone is very, very strong and just been playing super well recently. We have Jazzo versus Chag. Again, that is Jazzo. He changed his tag for April Fools. I actually asked him that when I played him in an online tournament. Palu does give the Shotos some trouble because of those really good lingering arrows. So I'm going to give that to Chag, but again, I wouldn't be surprised if Jazzo won that. And then I think Shootone's going to beat both of them because Shootone's really good, and I don't think either of them can deal with his Aegis. Or Loki his Olimar. I mean, Chag might be able to deal with the Olimar, but I think the Aegis is just so good. Under that, we have Ouch and Phantom. Ouch is very good versus Steve, as evidenced by beating Akola at Battle of VC. So he's probably going to win that. Shiny Mark versus Loaf. Shiny Mark I don't think Shiny Mark would lose that, so Shiny Mark will probably win that. Then we have Shiny Mark versus Ouch. That's going to be such a good set. Oh my god. I don't know who to call for that. I genuinely don't know who would win that. And then I'm going to give it to Shootone regardless of who wins, because if it's Ouch, I think Shootone will win with Aegis. And if it is Shiny Mark, I think Shootone will win with Olimar. So we'll give Shootone victory there regardless, but Ouch versus Shining Mark, ooh, that's going to be a good set. Ooh, both neutral masters. In the lower half, we have Gluttony versus Marvelous Marco. Gluttony off his Battle of BC win, he's going to win that. Cosmos versus Lemon. Lemon just had a really good run and beat MK Leo. Cosmos also beat Spargo at that tournament at Best of the West, so I don't know who they're both playing really well recently. That's actually going to be a really good set. Very even match between those two. I'm going to give it to Lemon because I believe in British Columbia supremacy there. Then we have Zachary versus Ludo. Zachary, my goat, he's going to win. Dabuz versus Kirash. Dabuz will win that. I don't think Luigi has an answer for Rosa at all. Then Zachary versus Dabuz. I know Pit has a really good time of dealing with Luma, and Zachary, I think, does well versus like Shutone's Olimar, so that's going to be a pretty hard set for Dabuz, but I wouldn't be surprised if he won, but I am going to give it to Zachary there. And then Zachary versus Gluto. Oh my goodness. That's going to be a good set. I don't know who would win that. I genuinely don't know. I don't even know who Zachary would go for that set, because obviously he's been a Pit main, but he still has the Joker, he still has the Rob. So I don't know who he would go. That's going to be a really good set. I want Zachary to win that because Zachary's my favorite player, but I think Gluto probably would with how he's been playing recently, so I'll give it to Gluto. We have Mia versus FD. I'm pretty sure this FD is a Kazuya main. Kazuya does do decent versus Game & Watch, but Mia is Mia. He is strong, so I will assume that Mia will win that. Riddles versus Omega. I do think Riddles will probably win this. I know this is some of his last tournaments via his YouTube channel. He's going to just focus on Street Fighter 6. Omega's been playing super well the past like 6 months, year, but I think Riddles is probably just going to win barely. Like, that's going to be low-key a hot set, but Riddles will kind of like slowly win further. Like, I think Omega will win game 1, and that'll be like a close game 2, and then Riddles will just kind of snowball from there. Riddles versus Mia. I think Mia's just more in practice. Also, Mia can just go Steve if he wants to and just invalidate both of the FGC characters, so Mia probably going to win that. Light versus Send. That's tricky. I think Light, you know, he's been playing a little bit subpar for his standards, given the fact that he was ranked 4th last season. Send, haven't seen him very often, but I feel like he's still doing pretty decent. And Ness versus Fox is a really tricky matchup for Fox because Ness is one of the only characters that can actually kind of fight that close quarter combat game with Fox and still do well. So that's going to be low-key a hot set. I will say that Light is going to get like some weird clutch edgeguard thing in like the final game, and it'll be his victory. Wrath versus Icon. That's a bad pull for Icon, and that sucks for him because Wrath is going to win that. Sonic destroys the FGCs. Also, Wrath has a billion years of experience against those characters because of Vendetta and Jazzo. So Wrath is going to win that. Icon low-key might go me sword fighter here, so it'll be rough. Syrup versus J Mafia. Syrup's the best player in the US right now. He will win that set probably. Mars versus Chase. Ooh. That's a battle of ego. I low-key could see Chase winning that. I do know Palu, in my opinion, right now beats Zero Suit. But I don't know how, you know, I don't know if he's, I mean, I doubt he would go Steve versus Zero Suit because that matchup is miserable. But I'm going to give that to, I'm going to give that to Mars, but I think that's going to be one of the sets to look out for in this round 1 for sure. If those matchups go according to what I said, Syrup will probably beat Mars with Ness. I mean, Syrup beat Mars when Mars was like more at his peak. And with Ness, he's not going to go Steve here, and Syrup will probably win that. Also, his Ness is so good. It's just so good. Okay, so Syrup is going to make it out of this top section, I think, regardless. I think Syrup will also beat Chase, although that would be a little tricky because they might have to go to like Steve Dittos. Also, like Steve versus Palu's like kind of uncomfortable for Steve, but Syrup is so good. We have Raru versus Danny Toothenny. I will assume Raru will win this just because Danny's going to get grabbed a couple times in neutral, but also Danny's really good, so I wouldn't be surprised if he won. And Raru is not having as strong of a season as last season, but I'm assuming Raru is still going to win that. Then we have Monty versus MBD. I don't know their set record, but Game & Watch is a hard time for Snake. I know MBD apparently had a close set with Mia at the pre-local, so I'm not 100% sure how that's going to go. But I would assume, I mean, Monty's been like top 8 in regionals and top 8 at a major at Battle of BC, so I'm going to assume Monty's going to win that, but it will be a good set in my opinion. And then Monty versus Raru. I think both of these players will lose to Raru because even though, you know, Luigi versus Game & Watch, bad matchup, right? Raru just has a bunch of Mia experience, so I don't think he will lose that. And also, if he needs to, he can go Min, and there are a couple Min-Mins in SoCal, but I think Raru will probably clear that up. And then Raru versus Syrup, I do think that Syrup is going to win that, so Syrup is going to make it to winners quarterfinals. For Mia versus Light, because I didn't cover that yet, Light kind of destroys Sorry, I didn't even cover... Did I cover Light versus Wrath? Oh, no, I said Send might beat him. So if Send wins, Wrath will make it here, and then Wrath Mia will be, in my opinion, Wrath... No, I think Mia's going to win this time. I do know Wrath won last time at Let's Luminosity Makes Moves Miami, but I think Mia will win this time. Also, Wrath has been struggling with Steve's recently, so Mia might just go Steve into that matchup. But if Light beats Send, I think Light will beat Wrath, because that matchup's, you know, good for Fox. And then Light will probably win here because Light just doesn't lose to the Game & Watch players anymore. I don't know what it is. I don't know what happened. Light just stopped losing to the Game & Watch players. So I think Light will win this, but, you know, it really depends on this set, honestly. The Light versus Send, that's going to determine a lot here. So now let's go to the top 24. Is it going to break it up into that in top 8? Of course it is. So we have Akola versus Zomba. I do think Akola will win this. Again, he's been playing really well. I feel like he's also becoming more confident in his Aegis secondary, and Aegis does good versus, you know, Rob, so I think that'll be fine. For this, I think Syrup, if it's Light, if Light makes it all the way and beats Mia, I think Syrup will win. If Mia makes this, I don't know who would win. I mean, Syrup is really good in my opinion versus Game & Watch as well with Steve, but also obviously Mia has like all the 17 years of Akola experience, so I don't know. Spargo versus Doraemigi, again, a little bit of a tricky section. This might low-key be, if Elijahman makes it here, I think Elijahman would also low-key beat Doraemigi. So if Elijahman is able, Elijahman could make the run of his life, high-key. Like, it's still unlikely that he will, but I think he really could. But I think Spargo versus Doraemigi, they go back and forth, so that's really hard to call, but I would give it to Doraemigi recently because Doraemigi's kind of ascending, whereas Spargo is like faltering sometimes, so I will give it to Doraemigi there. And then Shutone, I think, will make it here, and then it was either Gluto or Zachary, I believe, and I think Gluto is more likely than Zachary, but I don't know who wins this because, again, Olimar is just the bane of Europe existence. So I do think Shutone, if it's Glutony, will win that. Shutone versus Zachary, I genuinely don't know how that goes. I'm going to look it up. So Zachary did win the most recent time. They kind of go back and forth, and they haven't played that much because, like, the last time they played was Ultimate Wanted. Like, they played in the summer of 2024 because Zachary doesn't go to a lot of events. 2024, and then winter 2023, and then summer 2022. So this is definitely a toss-up, but I would say, honestly, Shutone's probably playing better recently. I guess I should do not just ranked. Yeah, they still don't play very often, even at, like, the local level. Is it just... Wow, that's crazy. So they go back and forth. Don't know who would win, but I think Shutone's probably playing better recently because Shutone has just been on fire. So I think Shutone will probably win regardless. So in my opinion, we would have Shutone, Doraemigi, Syrup, and Akola. So because of that, I do think that Syrup, because again, I just assume this is going to be Light, to be honest. So Syrup versus Akola, I do think Akola would win that because I don't see Syrup winning the Steve Ditto, and I also don't see him winning Ness versus Steve, but I could be surprised, right? Syrup is incredible, but I do think Akola would win that. And then Doraemigi versus Shutone, I would assume that Doraemigi wins those more often, but I could be wrong about that. Oh, they've only played once. Interesting. So Shutone Doraemigi only played once. When was this? It doesn't say. Let me look at the bracket. It happened September of last year. So again, shout out to Smashers app. This app is so good. So you know, I would still say Doraemigi wins that because the Aegis is going to become a lot scarier, and then I think that Min Min does well versus Olimar. So I think Doraemigi is going to make it to winners finals. I think it's Doraemigi versus Akola, and then that can kind of go either way. Even though I would favor Doraemigi, just because yeah, I don't know, the matchup's a little tricky for sure. So Doraemigi Loki gonna be in Winterside Grand Finals, and then like Sonics is gonna make it back to him somehow, and then Sonics is gonna win the tournament. So Sonics is gonna win the tournament, and those are my predictions for Level Up Expo 2025. Let me know what you think down in the comments if you think I'm wrong and stupid about a bunch of stuff. And while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe, like the video. I would appreciate it. Yeah, and I'm also gonna be doing one of these next week for, of course, the biggest tournament that Smash has ever seen. We'll get there when we get there. All Zelda social media and partner stuff is down below. I will see you all next time. Peace.